Hey, Ocklawahaboy Rocks. I'm sitting on the floor of my shop, crouched down in the remnants of my first lapidary machine. I'm doing this to introduce you to a new segment I'm going to start up, the Quest for Lapidary Equipment. I'm part of some Facebook groups on DIY lapidary. I'm a bargain hunter. I see lots of posts, lots of questions about people wanting to get into the hobby affordably and find equipment. So that's been a big part of my story. I've shared a little bit of it with you. I've created a playlist for this and put those videos, stuff I've built, stuff I've gone and found at sales. I've put some of that up there already, but I'm going to get more into this, starting with my first machine and kind of go machine by machine, show you a little bit what it's like to set some of them up as I get them and talk about them. So this one, I needed something to make cabochons on, so I set this one up, and I also needed something to cut rocks on. Well, you've seen my first lapidary saw already, a little tile saw, but we're going to talk about that. I guess this is out of order. We're going to talk about the cab machine first and then the saw, but had to have a saw in order to get a preform to make a cab. But we're going to talk about this first, how it works, what some of the drawbacks were, what I would do different now that I've used commercially made machines, and just kind of see what you can do on a nothing budget to be able to enjoy the rocks you found. So let me spin you around and talk about this machine for a minute. So this machine is built on an ancient angle grinder arbor. Got a motor back there just like any machine would. Got the belt. I made a couple plexiglass hoods. It's screwed into a piece of plywood right through the bottom of the cake pan. Use some sealer there. Let the water drain out. The water comes in up here, just like a commercial machine, and goes on the wheels. I can set it up with the flat wheels, or I have some expandable drums. Still got a cerium oxide polishing belt on this one. One thing that's kind of interesting is when you look through the hood here, I left the old abrasive wheels on here, and those made perfect backing for the flat lap wheels, if I can talk. And you can kind of see this one through here. It fits just perfectly in the space on the expandable drum. So it was just like this thing was made to be used for a little ingenuity, and it doesn't work too bad. Now the biggest drawback, let me move back over here, I don't really have enough clearance to work a stone on these expandable drums here, so I definitely would have needed a different type of hood, but I started being able to find my commercially made machines for a good price, and so this one has just sort of set here. But that's my DIY cab machine, two-wheel unit on an arbor, and it works just fine. All right, and this is the little saw. I still use this to rough out preforms. Forgive the bad lighting. But it's a little 7-inch saw. Little water reservoir. The blade picks up the water. I use these cheap Chinese blades. They rust awful quickly in here. All those minerals and the water rusts them really quick. So it's a great, great little trim saw to start out with. Now there's always a lot of posts online about what should my cheap saw be to get started in lapidary, and everyone will say a tile saw. Well, there's tile saws and there's tile saws. The overhead ones, you get to use a lot more of the blade. This style, that's a 7-inch blade, and you get 1 1/8 inch of usable blade there. So, it really is just for very small stones and roughing out for preforms for cabs is about what it's good for. But I've got a whole bunch of hours on this saw. If I'm going over to someone else's house to work on this kind of stuff, I can throw it right in the back of the car, no problem. It doesn't have a 30-pound belt drive motor with it. So this is another example of, I don't know, I think this is a $50 or $60 saw. Someone gave it to me. They had used it for one job and died, and the widow gave it to me. So it's a great little thing if you don't have the budget to buy a $100 an inch saw. All right, now you've seen the two machines I started out with to be able to make a few cabs and polish a few flat faces on some rocks. And we've introed our new little segment we're going to be doing, Quest for Lapidary Equipment. And it really is a quest. I put a lot of time, a lot of looking online, a lot of driving places to pick this up. I have imposed on people in other towns to grab deals for me when they were there so that I could take advantage of them. So I'm gonna just kind of move through. I hadn't done a shop tour, so I'm gonna kind of show you things piece by piece, and then maybe eventually do an overall tour of the shop inside and out. But you can just follow along if you're wanting to get into the hobby, wanting to know more about what goes into finding good equipment, what to look for, where to look. Just follow along. Some luck plays into it sometimes, but a lot of times it's just looking for the bargains and having a little bit of money, not necessarily even a lot of money, ready so that when you find the deal, you can just jump on it. All right, I will see you next time.